I was not planning to pick up the sketchbook today, and I haven't done since last summer. But sometimes things in the universe just come together and a painting is born. Such amazing weather, these beautiful flowers, and I had the time to sit around and paint. But before we get into it, let me show you this sketchbook. This sketchbook is a really special one because I got it in Japan last summer, and it's almost like washi paper, so the paint acts really differently on it and you have to paint quite carefully. I think the only way I can describe it is like whatever is on your paintbrush will come out on the page. It's just not very forgiving at all. Here are some of the paintings from last summer. It's a concertina notebook, which is really cool, and that's why I've got the floral theme, because I thought it would make sense if all the paintings kind of come together. The paints I'm using today are my Japanese Gansai paints, which I thought would be very on theme with the Japanese notebook. I actually didn't even bring a mixing palette outside with me, so I'm just working straight from the paint pans straight to paper, which is why my pink colour looks a little off because there wasn't quite a lilac or purple available, but I made do and experimented. So I started off using this tiny brush because I wanted to get the sharp edges of those leaves in. But as soon as you try to cover larger areas of the page, you just can't push the paint and water around quickly enough. It almost gives like a felt pen result, like where you can see every single stroke. So I ended up going back inside to get a bigger paintbrush, or a couple of options anyway. It was much easier to cover more space with these larger brushes. The mark making is still super streaky, but I think that's kind of something you have to embrace. There's a bit of guesswork involved as to what your mark will look like on the page, including with like how far the water will spread. So you have to be super careful about how much water and paint is on your paintbrush. Quite the challenge. I thought the colour of these leaves is really beautiful. It's kind of like you've got the bluish green colour of the leaf, but then also like quite bright sort of golden tones where the sunshine is shining through. It's about sort of 4 o'clock, so you get that evening sun. Very lovely. You can see my little vegetable patch here where I'm growing courgettes and raspberries. They're just baby plants at the moment, and I'm sure some sort of squirrel or slug or fox or mouse will get rid of it, but I'm hopeful. Started to add the darker shadowy colours, and at first I thought I'd gone a bit too far with how dark this colour is, but actually in hindsight I do think it works quite well in the end. Now that I've got most of the page covered, I went back to my smaller paintbrush to add in a bit more detail and to capture some of those very pointy edges of the leaves. There were so many little bees flying around as well. I had half a thought of putting them on the painting, but it might be a bit kitsch, so I didn't. Now I'm very sorry, I don't know why I'm scowling so much. I am very happy in this moment, believe it or not. My palette is quite messy now. I really should have brought out something to mix the paints on. Now this part is pretty satisfying because it's all like the fine line details on the like veins in the leaves, and also these petals had a really beautiful pattern on them of like sort of pinkish purple, not veins but like lines on them. Please do let me know if you enjoy this style of video. I mean, they say there's nothing more boring than watching paint dry, but it can be quite relaxing. I guess a lot of people, including myself, watch YouTube videos alongside doing other things, so it's quite nice to have something sort of peaceful in the background. And there's a lot of birds chirping away in this video too, so I hope you enjoy it, but let me know what you think. just the finishing touches to go. Just these bright orange pollen centres of the flowers. Those details went quite well, so I was feeling brave about trying more of the detail of the leaves. It's really one of those things that can make or break a painting. If it's too heavy-handed, then it doesn't look quite right. And with this paper, you can't take anything back. But you just have to be confident and try things out. Like, what's the worst that could happen at the end of the day? Ironically, it was actually this part, I think, that was probably my worst decision in this painting. I don't think this dark green blob bit really worked, but hey-ho. I think it just made this leaf at the top look like there wasn't enough colour on it, so that's why I then went in again with a bit more colour there, so there was less of a contrast of that very dark centre. So the last thing I'll do with a painting like this is take a step back, not literally, but look at the whole picture and think about where the rhythm is in it and what's maybe missing. Like, where does the eye naturally fall? How can we get the eye going around the page in a way that looks good? And just looking at any areas of high contrast or low contrast or high colour, and making sure it all works together as best as you can in a sketchbook page. And it's finished. And Mr. Toad gave his approval. He didn't quite nod, but I heard him. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. I've just started this channel, so feedback is welcome. And have a lovely day.